I just finished a podcast episode with Jamie Blume, and we started talking in the off recording about how I was feeling unease, being at ease. And this was following a conversation I had with my therapist about where we're using the internal family systems, the IFS system. And I just want to give you an example of I've gone through such a transformation over the last few months. Now I don't know what's going to happen next. I know it's all good. And that's when my therapist asked me what's going on. I said, I feel unease because I am at ease. So this is the point that Jamie and I talked about, and I'm just doing it as an intro. And the next part is us having the conversation right to the end. I hope you like it. Why can't the brain figure out I am safe and shed those old protective mechanisms? Well, I asked Jamie Blume that question the last time she was on, and we need to talk about this. So, Jamie, welcome back.
Thanks.
Last time we had a chat was about the IFS system, so the internal family system, as which you are a practitioner and also a certified ADHD and life coach. You help adults and couples navigate the ADHD challenges, and you're also the founder of Along Their Way, and a mentor at ADD Coach Academy, where you guide clients to build on strengths and tackle barriers using nature and mindfulness. I get that right?
Pretty good.
Not bad?
The ADD Coach Academy is an organization where we teach coaches how to coach with an ADHD lens. And I also mentor those students as they're going through certification towards credentialing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool. So we talked about the IFS system last time, and I've been making a lot of great progress with my therapist with the internal family systems. But the one thing I asked you was, doesn't the body realize we're actually safer now than we were in our past when those exiles were being formed and the managers and the protectors were being formed?
Yeah. So what neuroscience tells us, and this is really interesting and a little bit tricky for people with ADHD. So I'm going to give you a little broad overview of what our brain is actually doing according to neuroscience. And then I'm going to hone in a little bit more on specifically on ADHD and then why it connects with that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so in terms of the latest neuroscience, well, not so late, but the past many years, what neuroscience is telling us is we used to believe that the brain was like a reactive computer. Something would happen and the brain would react. And we would have emotion or behavior, thought, and so forth. Now what neuroscience is telling us is actually the brain is like a prediction machine. And what the brain is actually doing is all day long, it is predicting what is going to happen next in our lives so that it can prepare our body for survival. Now, Andre, this is the really key point. The whole purpose of the brain is actually to keep what neuroscientists are calling our body budget in balance. All the brain cares about is keeping our systems running smoothly. So even before we get out of bed in the morning, it's working to make sure that our blood sugar is intact, that our heart is beating correctly, that all of our systems are on go and running in an effective way.
Okay.
The reason that that's so important is because the brain doesn't care how it does it. It will take whatever shortcut it can take to keep our body in survival mode, to keep our body running smoothly. Why is this important? Because trying new things, analyzing new data to see if what we might do differently next time is going to work better takes more energy than going into old familiar patterns. So if you had a pattern, and I'm going to break this down, okay? But if you had a pattern, a predictive pattern in your brain that said failure, mistakes equals bad, equals trouble, equals failure.
Yep.
It is going to go to that old predictive pattern because it takes less energy. So if you think about your body budget like a bank, the brain just all it cares about is debits and credits. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay? What you're giving, what you're taking out, and what you're putting in. Does that make sense so far?
It does, yeah. Yeah, and I got a lot more questions later.
Yeah. So because of the ADHD brain, so I want you to think about the body budget like a pitcher of water.
Yep.
Okay. People with ADHD have either a smaller pitcher or it starts with less water.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? So many reasons. Number one, it starts that way because it takes us, many of us, I'm not going to generalize, it takes many people with ADHD more energy to do the same executive functioning skills as it takes for a neurotypical person. So if you're just talking about straight energy in, energy out, people with ADHD tend to use up more energy more quickly and have to refill the tank more often.
Frequently, yep. Okay.
Also, how do I describe this? When we are worried about failure, about mistakes, about what's going to happen next, because we've been potentially taught that what we do is too much, too little, not good enough, and so forth. The worrying actually drains the tank, that pitcher of water, more quickly than actually doing the thing. And herein lies an issue, because I don't think people understand that. So all the worrying, the what ifs, are draining the tank, draining the water.
Right.
Okay. Then we have what we would call these old predictive patterns. So when we have these predictive patterns that tend to say to us, that's going to be negative, that's going to be a problem.
Or potential negative experience.
Potential negative, right. What we're telling ourselves.
Right.
Exactly. The prediction is we're telling ourselves. Okay. And what that does is it can set off an emotional dysregulation response, which can lead to shame, which can lead to a history of unmet expectations. Okay. So I'm going to zone back out a second. Are you still with me? And then I
just want to clarify one thing, if you don't mind. It sounds like to me these protective or predictive patterns, it's almost as if the brain formed these habits a while ago, so it's a shortcut.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. So the brain's predicting all day long what's going to happen, what's going to happen. The failure or the thing that we as humans think is a failed expectation is really just a mismatch in the prediction. It's just the brain predicted what was going to happen. It didn't happen that way. And now we get to control and correct what went wrong for learning. That's called growth mindset. Carol Dweck talks about it. Okay, growth mindset, right? So the issue with people with ADHD is it doesn't go, which is brilliant if you think about that, right? If you think about the way the brain actually works is brilliant. It's basically telling us, oh, this didn't work. Oh, how can we do it differently?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Brilliant. But what happens with ADHD, people with ADHD, or can happen with people with ADHD, not just people with ADHD, but more often, that system doesn't either the brain doesn't update it the same way. It doesn't go to the growth mindset. It stays in the fixed mindset of I failed, as opposed
defaults to the negative.
It defaults to the negative. Why? Because ADHD tends to default to the negative, in addition to all these other things we talked about, right?
So does it default to the negative because of the ADHD brain or because of the training, quote unquote, we had over the previous years with that negative environment?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Okay. So we've built up this. So, and again, remember, people with ADHD tend to have also can have more of a challenge with working memory.
Yeah.
So, and tend to remember the negative. If I said to you, tell me all the great things you did this year, every single kind act that you did this year. Okay. Now, if I said to you, tell me all the terrible things you did this year.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So our brain, so our brain is predicting. So let me tell you, this is the important piece. The brain is predicting based on three things. It's predicting based on our internal environment. So our heart rate, our butterflies in our stomach, all of the things, all of our internal information, plus our external senses. So what am I noticing? What am I seeing? What's coming in at me through all of my senses in the external, so our internal world, our external world. And then it makes meaning of it based on that working memory. So if I am making meaning based on a negative experience, right? So I've used this example in the past. If I'm on a hike and I see a snake, if I'm walking down the path and my internal system starts getting, I start getting hot, I start getting anxious. My stomach starts getting tight because I see a snake on the path. Okay. So my external snake, my internal, all these things going on. My memory, oh my gosh, snake, danger, 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 run, run, run. Okay. Now, say I had a snake as a pet when I was little. Say I lived in a snake factory or farm or whatever, and I just loved snakes. And I saw that same snake. I could have the same internal stuff going on, right? I could be getting hot and sweaty in my belly. I could see the snake, okay? But this time, my memory of snakes are good. Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, gosh, what's going on internally? Oh, I must be hiking too fast. I got to slow down and get some water.
Right. Okay.
So, do you see the difference?
Yeah. So it was, if you had a bad experience with snakes in the past, your brain's going to predict that every time they see a squiggly line, stick or whatever, immediately your heart rate beats up, you start sweating, and it freaks out. I got a snake. Or if you had a positive experience in the back, I'm still going to get sweaty or possibly anxious, but I see a snake, that's kind of cool, and I'm sweaty because maybe I am hiking a little too fast or because it's a workout.
Right.
Because it could be the same scenario, the same hike, but I'll be attributing that to my fear.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Right.
So that's based on past experiences, right?
Yeah.
But the same could be just based on negative. So if I've made a mistake, that scenario could be exactly the same, but because of my negativity bias or my rejection sensitivity, I'm going to have that same reaction of this is bad. Mm-hmm. Because I'm feeling rejected. So
then the heart rate increases, the blood flow.
Yes. Yeah. So for example, so so we do this podcast. I'm like, gosh, Andre is such a great guy. I really want to be his friend. I'm going to shoot him a text. And I'm just going to tell him what a great time we had. And I really hope next time he's in town, we can meet for coffee or dinner. And I send off a text. And my prediction is Andre's going to respond and he's going to be my new friend and it's going to be awesome. And I get silence.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I can relate already to what you're going.
Okay. So what's going to happen? What do you think is going to go on in my thought process? And what do you think my brain is going to predict? What do you think is going on?
What the hell did I do to upset him? Why doesn't he think I'm cool? What is he, maybe he's just an arrogant ass and didn't appreciate the conversation. I must be at fault. I must have overdone something. What did I do to frustrate the person?
Yes. Okay. And then now I'm in a complete and utter spiral. Now go back to the body budget. Now I've wasted all of this energy. My body budget is low and I am not able to, and my brain is now saying, we just got to get our body budget back in order. Okay. So it's having a really hard time. It's trying to balance everything going on with me, but it just keeps depleting. I'm not filling it.
It doesn't have enough energy to get everything in sync.
So then I shut down. I avoid. I go into a depressive state. I decide I'm never going to go on another podcast again. I people please, and I go into this situation where I'm just constantly trying to be nicer to people, right? Because I must have messed up, so I must not be nice enough. So I'm going to have all of these new potential reactions based on false information or potentially false information.
Good, yeah, potentially. And a lot to do with based on your past, your brain's predicting it.
Right.
And what you've told yourself, your limiting self-beliefs from the past and how ingrained it is. So the thing I also heard was the brain body budget. If we had a lot of water in the tank, the brain would have the energy to work it out to say, okay, settle down. Maybe that person's busy. Maybe that person just had to go or, I don't know, just settle down.
Yeah. Exactly.
Versus if you're drinking, you got almost no water, then that's when the spiral can start to occur because we don't have the energy to kind of calm it down. Exactly. Is that fair enough? Okay.
Exactly. And so part of the retraining has to be consistency. It's got to be, we have to give it consistent new messages and we have to fill the tank.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I really want to make sure before we go into the tools and what to do about it, that we're really understanding what's happening and why this is so important for people with ADHD.
Before we go on, I'd like to, I thought you said there was three things: the internal environment, external senses. Did I miss?
Our memory, our past.
Oh, the working memory was number 3. I thought they were related, but I guess they're all related one way or the other. They talk to each other and depend on the information from each other.
Yeah, because it happens like this, right? We get, something's going on internally, something's going on externally, and we're making meaning. okay,
Right.
based on the past. And here's the thing, a lot of people are, we've been told over and over, you make a mistake, it's a great opportunity for learning, try again, just get back on the horse, right? All these things. But with ADHD, that it tends to be more of a verdict. I failed. I didn't do this right. Just like you said about the text, this must be about me. I must have done something wrong, as opposed to the reframing, right? Like you said, which could be, this particular thing didn't work.
Or they're busy.
This isn't about me. This is about the situation. This is about this. Or even if it is about me, and this is the big one. How many times have we gone to the situation of, I tried to do something, it didn't work, and now instead of, I couldn't make this work, or I didn't do this one well, I am a failure, I'm a terrible person. We make it about us as a person as opposed to the thing. So, I messed up on the podcast, now I'm a terrible speaker. Mm-hmm. We make it global as opposed to specific. And when we do that, right, then we're creating a situation where then we internalize who we are as opposed to what we did. And it becomes all about the who and not about the what. Okay, it becomes, right? And when it becomes about the who, that's when we really get into a situation, because then all of our thoughts and memories and our past experiences are going to be about who we are as a person, not what we did in reality. So when
you just made that very objective now. Like, that just takes me, if I take the who out, which is most case me, mm-hmm. and I'm dealing about the what, mm-hmm. the not responding versus me, I'm not getting the response because I suck. That just takes you out of the loop to look at it objectively. I think that's a really good separation.
I will say, and this is less about the brain, but just more about something that I really believe in, and that is, the more impersonal we can get mm-hmm. about things, the better off we are. And I don't mean impersonal like we don't care, we're detached, but the more we can make it less about us.
Remove the emotion out of it as well. Yeah.
The more it becomes what the brain is trying to do. Have a situation, the mismatch of what our expectation to react, so what's the expectation, what's the reality, and then what's the correction, period.
Right.
And if you think about it like that, then everything that we're learning, that we're doing all day long, just becomes matter of fact. It becomes just, mm-hmm. shoot, that didn't go well. What can I do wrong? What can I do differently?
And plus, if I say I keep the who and it's a me problem, then we're just supporting what the brain already predicted. So we're going to stay in that side. So if we change that language, then the brain's kind of go, whoa, different pattern. What's going on? Yeah. Is that the start of the retraining or the system to change our negative patterns?
So one is the language, just like you said. And I want to go a little bit further for the language, because it's not just language in terms of
it's like, yay, you're the best. None of that,
right. Right, because who's doing that, right? And who's believing it, right? So part of it is the language from global to specific, right? So instead of, I failed, this particular thing I was trying to do didn't go the way I expected. Because again, it's not that we failed. It's that the expectation didn't meet the reality. I have a colleague who always says expectations lead to disappointment 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. Because when we expect something and it doesn't go our way, right, we go into shame, we go into disappointment, we go into rejection, all the things, as opposed to just learning from it. Learning from it, right? Because when we have prediction error, which is what we're talking about here, we can either believe it and say, oh, this is mismatched to something I did wrong, or we can learn from it. Those are our two options. So language is number one, but I'm going to break down the language a little bit more, because when we talk about language, I'm going to bring it into emotion for a minute. Because the more we give our brain more language, more understanding, a bigger vocabulary in general, emotional granularity, okay? So the more specific we can get in our emotional language even, the more we're giving our brain different things from which to predict. If we only have happy, sad, or mad, that's all it's going to predict from. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you only gave it red and blue and green as opposed to turquoise and magenta and all the other colors, that's all it has to predict from. But the second we start opening up this emotional granularity, so instead of mad, sad, glad, it's anxious, depressed, excited, nervous,
So like the emotion wheel, we just made it a lot more
exactly.
layers. Cool.
Exactly. We use that feelings wheel, the emotion wheel. Now the brain is like, wait, what am I really feeling? I'm not mad. I'm actually just frustrated, or I'm actually just anxious. That's really different than mad.
Yes.
And so when we predict what to feel, think, and act, we're going to predict really differently if we're thinking about it in that way. Okay. So when we talk about emotion, we're opening that up. The other thing is, the text situation. We're also going to reframe, just like you started doing earlier. Perhaps he didn't get my text. Perhaps there was an error. Perhaps he's away on vacation. Perhaps he's really busy and he meant to respond and he didn't. Then what am I going to do? You know what? I think I'm going to reach back out. Or maybe that's the wrong number. I'm going to try again. I'm going to call him. I'm going to email him. Whatever it is.
So I'm laughing about that because I've had no response and I just say F them. I'm not going to talk to them again.
Right. And how many times that, maybe that's true, or maybe it was just a missed opportunity for you.
Yeah, true.
Right. And also, okay, and say it was something we did. Say, I came on really strong and I was like, oh, Andre, be my friend, be my friend, be my friend. And you're like, whoa, that's a lot, right? Okay, but then that's also a learned opportunity to say, okay, the prediction didn't meet the reality. What could be different? Well, maybe I also need to learn about myself to not come on so strong. So it's not just about the other person. It can be a learning for ourselves too.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great example, especially for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs, because we are quite intense and overpowering in presence. So I think that was a really great example for us to reflect on that, because once I realized it was very intense and big presence, it's not that I'm pulling myself back to do less of me. It's just being aware that I am a lot for a lot of people and start to watch those social cues a little more. So I think it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things I'll never forget. I used to be somebody who was always late. Always late. 5 to 15 minutes, always late. And I would joke about it. Oh, that's just who I am. Oh, yeah, I'm the late one, whatever. And finally, somebody said to me, I feel really disrespected when you show up late. I'm here on time and I'm waiting for you. And no judgment for those of you who are late listening. No judgment. I'm just telling my experience. Because all of a sudden it became more of a value to me to try to be on time. And so it really started changing that way that I show up in my predictions. Now I start thinking about, what do I need to do to show up on time? And so I really had to change a lot of my habits. But it took this whole idea of growth mindset for me to be able to look at it a different way, and this idea of objectivity, of not being as emotionally connected, right? To be able to take a step back and say, it's okay if I look at myself too. That's okay.
So the language and the reframe are big things. Is there other different ways, strategies we can do? Was there another part to the language, reframe,
Absolutely. So we have to refill the tank, okay? Remember, that's all the body just cares, the brain just cares about survival. So I'm going to say some things, and Andre, I know you're going to be like looking at me and like rolling your eyes and laughing, like, yeah. Because what am I going to say? Get more exercise, get out in nature, drink your water, take care of your body.
A year ago, I would have called bullshit. But over the last 4 months, I can't, that's so true.
And here's why it's so true. Not just because it makes us feel good, which it does, right? But it also, if you think about, if your brain is working really, really hard in the background to predict, to figure out what's coming next, what to do, if it has to maintain your body budget because you're not taking care of it, if all it's working on is keeping your systems in line, it doesn't have time to do all the other stuff.
It's concentrating too much on other stuff and not on everything.
Right. So the more that we give our bodies a break, the more that we beef our bodies up physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? So not just the physical side, but also getting some time for peace and quiet, I'm going to get to trying new things in 1 minute, but really giving your body time and brain time to get back in touch with yourself. Get in touch with nature. All of these things are going to give your body, it's going to have you start with that full pitcher of water.
And the one thing I realized with the way you're describing that is one thing I've been working on over the last quite a few months is reducing overwhelm. Because the ADHD brain in a city, in a town with the noise and offices, we get overwhelmed. Just like you said, our external senses get overwhelmed. So we got to get away, separate from work, do something self-care or nature. And to me, it's just, once I reduce that overwhelm, I'm a different person.
So sensory overload is a little bit what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we have to notice, when is our energy depleted? What depletes our energy? And how can we give ourselves a break?
Yeah.
Some people feed on being around a lot of people. Some people that takes 3 days of energy.
Well, we need to get the break. We got in a habit of we don't deserve breaks, or we just go because of the hyperactivity and the high achiever attitude. We don't stop because we want to keep going, but we got to get that, force ourselves to do it.
Well, and that brings up a really good point in terms of another thing that we can do to help. Another tool is what is done for the day. So
Yes.
pick something.
Hard stops.
And also, I did these 3 things. That's enough for today.
Yeah.
And not, oh my gosh, I didn't finish my list. Or roll everything over to the next list. Because that's also just draining our energy. So really celebrating what you have done that day as opposed to what else you need to do that day or you didn't do that day.
Yeah. And I've been working on that too. These last 3 weeks, I've been doing, today I'm out of here no matter what at a certain time, and I'm holding myself to it. And I find I'm a lot more forgiving and saying I don't have time to start something new. And like high achievers, we always measure our success based on what we still have to achieve. Mm-hmm. So that'll always keep an endless cycle of doing more. And the hard stop to me has been a game changer. And a friend of mine's also doing that, and he's like, that's a big game changer too. Just no matter what, drop everything and go.
And that brings up the next point, which is fun. Socialization and fun. Both of those things are going to increase your body budget. It's going to increase that water in that in the pitcher. And then the big thing here, Andre, is new experiences. So I don't care if you travel to Peru, and get, see a whole new culture, or if you just go down to a neighborhood that you don't usually explore and just check it out. Meet new people, try new foods. How many of us eat the same, 20 foods most of the time? Yeah. So try new foods, experience new areas, new language, anything, read books, even watch movies, whatever is going to give you a fresh lens and new things to see, feel, and experience is going to, again, expand the brain's prediction file system, let's just say, so that it has more things from which to predict. And the more that you do that, and I would say, those are the 2 number ones, fill your tank and then experience new. If you can do those 2 things, you're on your way to having a more robust brain prediction system.
So in effect, if we don't actively provide new positive info and experiences, then our brain will keep predicting and reacting based on those old negative patterns. So like you said earlier, the brain's not reactionary, it's preventative. So it's predicting scenarios for us to protect ourselves. And you just further reinforced the way I've been thinking. The brain's one role for you to survive, and it'll do whatever. And like you said, the brain doesn't really care if it's a positive or negative effect. It'll do whatever it can to protect you. And like you said, but with the least amount of energy. That changes my thinking. So it's not that the brain is lazy, it's just they're very energy efficient and they don't know what the outcomes. And by you changing the context of it's about the who and not the what, that's the negative part. We need to change the thinking from what to from the who and take us out of it. And I think that will make it really easy to start realizing it's not a you problem, it's the situation. Let's look at the situation. It'll be easier. A lot along the lines of CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy system too. So.
Yeah.
Any last words on this? Like, this was a fantastic conversation.
I'm gonna tell you. Let me see if I have it right here. I thought I wrote it down. Yeah. So Sarah McKay, who's a neuroscientist who talks a lot about the brain, she's phenomenal. She says we become the stories written by our brain's predictions. I just love that.
Oh, what a way to end this! Say, repeat that again.
We become the stories written by our brain's predictions.
And now, listeners, answer that question. How valid is that, and what stories are you creating that'll be used for the predictive protection mechanism of your brain. Unbelievable. Thanks again, Jamie. I really enjoyed talking with you. Where can people find you?
They can find me at alongtheirway.com. They can find me at ATGA, and I'm on all the socials along their way.
Nice. Well, thanks again for joining us. I learned a lot. I had a lot of questions about why the brain can't figure it out. I thought it was stupid, but it's not. It's just doing its job, not in the way that we expect it. And I guess that's the other thing you said I want us to end this with is expectations did not meet the reality. That's why we think negative or we feel it's a negative experience. So I think that's another thing for me to think about and realize. What did I expect? That's not the reality. And let's make that connection and not a disconnect in the negative. So thanks again, Jamie. And to you, the listeners, thanks again for learning with me. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Take care.